Hello again, everybody. And this is actually a video about, as I specified to you before, about a scanner. Actually, it costs about $100. And for that price, it does quite a few things. First of all, obviously, the protocol, there's different protocols when you connect it. This one is for a Crown Vic, and it connects to the protocol for a CAN, which is one of the serial data bus lines to give data that flows back and forth through the modules. Now, has several features. Obviously, it tells you any codes that come up and anything like that. But what I like, actually, is it gives you parameters of live data. And if we go through it, and I'll make a video about the specific of the parameters, what they mean. But as you can see over here, for $100, it has quite a bit of information it gives you. 1 out of 48. So it gives you, and you can select it to 48 different parameters. So fuel system 1 can always be closed loop or open loop. In this case, it's closed loop, as you can see. And as we select it, as you see the highlighted part of it, it tells you quite a few things like the load, in a percentage, how much the load is on the engine. It tells you ECT, which is engine coolant temperature, which is actually 200 degrees right now, which is you see on that on the gauge, usually hot and low in the middle. And it tells you, obviously, now when you're doing or you have trouble codes for oxygen sensors, something related to it is called short-term fuel trim for B1, B2, which is for bank 1 and bank 2, which we'll go over later on, more explicit. But just want to show you the data that it gives out. Long-term fuel trim for bank 1, as you see a percentage, it should be close to 0. And for bank 2, as you can see, if you have it, a map sensor, which tells you, measures how much air is flowing through vacuum, absolute pressure, engine RPM. Obviously, you can see right now I'm in idling, not driving, but idling. I have it in drive, 800. Obviously, the vehicle speed is 0 because I'm just parked. So spark advance, which is you can advance the spark or retard the spark, meaning when the piston goes up to top dead center, you can either increase or retard the spark before this piston goes up to top dead center, depending upon many factors of pre-ignition and other things and other details, which we'll go over. Intake air temperature, IAT, you can see it's 118, which is a sensor that measures the intake temperature of the air. Right now the hood is closed, so it's hotter under the hood, so therefore the temperature will be hotter of the air. So mass airflow sensor, which obviously measures how much flow is flowing through the intake air chamber. So TPS sensor, which is in percentage, depending how much you have it open or closed. Right now, I have it, actually, I'm not stepping on the accelerator. When I step on the accelerator, obviously the percentage will go up, as you can see. Now these are all the oxygen sensors that we mentioned. Bank 1, sensor 1, short-term fuel trim, which should be around close to 0. You see it's -2. Anyway, and the first one, which is highlighted, 0.1, 0.4, and you want to see it go to rich, lean, oscillating. Obviously, some scanners have graphs, but for these purposes, you can figure out, you can see that it's going up and down from 0.1 to 0.8, and it's oscillating. So rich, lean. Every 100 milliseconds, the computer looks at the outputs of the oxygen sensors, and that's very important. So as you can see, this is sensor 2, bank 1 is sensor 2. Short-term fuel trim, like I said, we'll go over it in more detail. And runtime, how long it's been on the car, any malfunctions, codes, fuel pressure, obviously 38 psi. When you first turn it on, it's about maybe 50 psi, and later on it becomes about 39. It gets that information from the fuel pressure sensor. Now you could command the EGR, which is for the evap. You could command it on to see how you evap if there's any leaks. As you can see, command evap. So fuel level is at a percentage. How much fuel you have from the fuel level sensor is 27%. So basically, how much, see it's for evap, barometric pressure, catalytic, this is the temperature of the catalytic converter, 943. As you can see, the volts of the ECU, which is the computer, 14 volts. That's because I have the alternator on, so it's 14 volts going to the computer. So you have, like you see, has catalytic converter temperature, 935 degrees. So my point is, for 100 degrees and the ambient temperature, outside temperature is 48 degrees. Notice that the intake air temperature is hotter. That's because the hood is closed. So all these things I'm trying to point out. Accelerator is when you step on the gas. Obviously, you see the 19 will go up in the percentage. Like I said, we'll go over everything in fine detail, but I'm just trying to point out, for $100, a scanner gives you the codes and gives you live data. You really can't beat it. It's a pretty good scanner tool. Usually I don't promote, but this is pretty good for all your needs. And obviously there are parameters up to 400 parameters, but 48 parameters for this is pretty suffice. Well, it's pretty efficient to know the temperatures, to know the airflow, to know the codes, to know, most important, the oxygen sensor, which goes bad, and the short-term fuel trim. Those are very important. But like I said, I think it's a fine tool. You can always erase the codes. If you have a check engine light, you can erase it. Like I said, you can also go to, depending on what you have, if you're OBD2, or you can go to ABS to find problems with ABS problems. But anyway, like I said, we'll go into details. But this is just a very quick introduction to this scan tool that I found. And hopefully when I make the video, the next one, I'll go into the parameters, what they actually mean, so that when you go on a scan tool, you know what they mean. It doesn't pay to get the most expensive scan tool if you don't understand what the parameters mean. It's like getting your license to drive, but you're going to get the most expensive car, a Ferrari, Bugatti. Why? You just started driving. Same thing with this. Introduce yourself, get familiar with the parameters, and then go and get the best scan tool. First, understand the parameters and the variables of closed loop, mass airflow sensor, ECT sensor, IAT sensors. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next video explaining these parameters. Thanks for watching.